This film contains probably the most iconic and signature Disney song, When You Wish Upon a Star. We're talking about Pinocchio on its 85th anniversary. So seeing as how this contains the Disney signature, essentially, it's got to be one of the most iconic movies of all time. And right up there with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio was a humongous part of my childhood. So I know this film fairly well. The story, as if you needed me to tell you, follows a wooden puppet named Pinocchio who's created by an old woodcarver named Geppetto, and Pinocchio is brought to life by a blue fairy per Geppetto's wish that night on a gigantic, shiny wishing star. Pinocchio himself wishes to become a real boy, and he must prove himself to be brave, truthful, and unselfish. And along the way, Pinocchio encounters several characters representing the temptations and consequences of wrongdoing, all while Jiminy Cricket, who takes the role of Pinocchio's conscience, attempts to guide him in manners of right and wrong. You honestly don't need me to tell you how amazing Pinocchio is. Yeah, even though some people might think this is more catered towards young children, even sitting here as a 28-year-old man, there's still so much about this flick that just tugs at my heartstrings. And a lot like Snow White, Pinocchio's whole power is centered on emotion. Because I'll be honest, not a lot of logic in this story. I mean, for crying out loud, there is a talking fox walking around town, and nobody really seems to mind it. Pinocchio's wise man, so to speak, is a talking cricket. Hell, even the prospect of a wooden puppet carved basically that night, and then he comes to life after an old man wishes upon a star. Yeah, not a lot of this seems plausible. But that's not really what Disney was about 85 years ago. It's not necessarily about plausibility. It's about entertainment factor and really catering towards your emotions and what the audience wants to see. Because keeping in mind, this is a movie that came out right as World War II was raging all over the place. So when people went to the theater back in the early 40s, they needed pure escapism. And I think still in 2025, Pinocchio provides that. The voice acting is phenomenal across the board. I actually learned that the actress who voices the Blue Fairy was working with Shirley Temple from My Girlfriend. And yeah, she adds a lot of elegance to the proceedings. Geppetto is a very wise old man, and you honestly feel sorry for him in his situation. But thankfully, he has very cute animal companions to help him out in what the remake was defining as grief over his lost son. See, that's an aspect of the remake that I actually liked, getting deeper into Geppetto's background. But yeah, if you're a cat lover, you're obviously going to adore Figaro. And the iconic sequences in this movie are way too many to count. Geppetto's first dance, so to speak, with Pinocchio. Pinocchio being suckered into becoming an actor and skipping school. Him being caught in the clutches of Stromboli, who scared the hell out of me when I was a little boy. And all because he's super miserly with a low bass. Yes, yes, yes! Of course, leading to Pinocchio lying about not going to school and his nose growing as he lies. Like, that's become a part of everybody's lingo and everybody's culture. If you're lying, you are dubbed Pinocchio. In some cases. Like, that one scene where Pinocchio's nose grows as long as it does. Like, that is embedded in every child's mind forever. And I think it's honestly a great movie to show to kids because it honestly has so many great lessons of morality. I'm certainly glad that I was raised on this movie because my moral compass, like I don't want to say my moral compass is basically adjacent to the lessons I learned in Pinocchio. But I gotta say, when I was a young boy, when I was like 6 or 7 years old watching this movie for the first time, yeah, those lessons certainly stuck with me. I also kind of appreciate that this is a movie that doesn't have a full-on linear narrative in my eyes. It honestly feels like 3 or 4 different movies are going on, 3 or 4 different Disney vignettes. Of course, Pinocchio becoming an actor, as I've mentioned. The Pleasure Island sequence is very fun and extremely traumatizing. Like, man, when these little boys are turned into donkeys, we don't see how they turn out afterwards. We don't know if they're okay. Like, that's scary as hell. Speaking of scary, how about the climax? Monstro the Whale. I mean, need I say more? Especially after a pretty brief climax that we got in Snow White just chasing the old hag up the cliff and her falling to her demise. This one I feel like was a lot more exhilarating. And again, it is playing with your emotions. You think that Pinocchio has sacrificed himself, and then the Blue Fairy has deemed him brave, truthful, and unselfish. And he does turn into a real boy, and it's such a great, happy ending. Like, if you want to play with people's emotions, if you want to write the happiest ending possible for them, this takes the cake right here. I honestly think this is a much happier ending than Snow White, if you really think about it. And honestly, with how much I'm gushing about this movie right now, you'd think it's fairly flawless. Nowadays, though, I gotta talk about Jiminy Cricket. This guy bugs the crap out of me. No pun intended, of course. Like, yeah, I know, he sings the iconic song at the very beginning, and it's a very nice baritone voice. And when you think of Conscience characters, you think of Jiminy Cricket. There is no denying his iconic stature in the Disney lore. Now in 2025, I don't really see much appeal with this guy. Because first of all, he sneaks into Geppetto's house, so he's kind of a freeloader. Yeah, I'm surprised Geppetto didn't catch this guy with how big of a bug he is and didn't just stamp him out immediately. Matter of fact, do Geppetto and Jiminy even interact in this flick? I don't think so. I think just the delivery of his dialogue, like, he definitely feels more like a product of the time. So in that case, with Jiminy Cricket's whole presence, the movie can feel a tad bit dated. At least to me. I don't know if this is a based opinion or a hot take for you guys. Jiminy Cricket was never one of my favorites, though. Other than that, though, Pinocchio is a brilliant emotional roller coaster that I'm sure even in your adult years, if you grew up with this movie, I'm sure most of you watching this video did grow up with this movie in one way or another. It's got enough iconic Disney magic in here that will last forever. And it will continue to last forever. The movie's 85 years old, and I can't wait to watch it for another 85 years down the line. I'm gonna give Pinocchio an A. Pure Disney magical emotional brilliance this is. But let me know what you guys think. Is Pinocchio one of your favorite Disney animated features? If not, what are some of your favorites? I love getting in front of this camera and talking all things in the cinematic world with you guys on the regular. Hit that subscribe button if you've stumbled across this channel for the first time. Hit that thumbs up as well if you haven't already. And stay tuned for more Disney magic. Stay tuned for more Disney geeky talk over here. And stay tuned for more talk about all the new things in the movie world. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Y'all are the best. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.